Mater Dei Catholic High School Parent Update. My name is Kathy Sparazzo, and I am the Director of Communications, and I am a parent of an incoming freshman. I'd like to thank you all for giving us your feedback over the last several weeks as we have put out distance learning surveys, and especially the most recent survey where we asked you to give us your most pressing questions. It is from those answers that we've developed this video. It is our hope that Mr. Ray and Mrs. Asaguera will be able to address some of these questions. We've put together the 8 most popular questions that came up. For those of you who still have additional questions, we encourage you to continue to send us these questions because we're committed to giving you those answers as soon as we have them. At this time, I'd like to introduce the president of Mater Dei Catholic High School and Mater Dei Juan Diego Academy, John Ray, who will give you an introduction and lead us in a prayer.
Hello, everyone. I hope and pray that everybody is doing well and staying safe. I want to thank you for all the parents for their positive words of encouragement and support throughout this. I realize that these times are incredibly challenging, trying to balance work and also the distance learning for your sons and daughters. Truly, I should apologize right now. Currently, it's Friday at 12, and I have 3 little kids at home. So if any of them come into the room and interrupt us, I apologize in advance. My wife, who is a first grade teacher, and I are trying to navigate through this as well, so we understand the challenges that you are facing. I wanted to start with a prayer, and this is a prayer that I received my freshman year in high school. As some of you may know, I went to a all-boys Jesuit school on 84th and Park in New York City. The name of the school is Regis. It's actually the same school that Dr. Fauci, who I know you all know at this point, went to. And I received this prayer the first day of my freshman year from my theology teacher, Father Duffy. And I held on to that for 20 years in my wallet until it essentially just almost started falling apart. But I came across it again last week, and I thought it was really relevant and appropriate given where we are. So we will start with this prayer. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. God hath not promised skies always blue, flower-strewn pathways all our lives through. God hath not promised sun without rain, joy without sorrow, peace without pain. But God had promised strength for the day, rest for the labor, light for the way, grace for the trials, help from above, unfailing sympathy, undying love. Mary, Mother of God, lead us to your Son, Jesus. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen.
Let's start with our first question. What is Mater Dei's plan for returning to campus and finishing out this school year?
Alrighty. So this was a question that we received before we received the official guidance from the diocese. So earlier this week, you should have received an email with word from the diocese that we will not be returning to campus this school year. I know we're all saddened by that news, but so that's the plan for this year. We will continue with our synchronous learning schedule until the last day of school, which is on June 5th. I just wanted to take a few moments to sort of explain the last few weeks and how we got to where we are right now. March 13th, we received the order from the diocese that we would not be returning to school the following week. And we started with those 3 days of planning for our teachers. Then we started with asynchronous learning, and then we slowly evolved to a full synchronous learning schedule. And that same schedule is going to continue throughout the year. Now, the way we came up with that schedule was conversing and collaborating with different dual language Catholic schools, local private schools, just to see what was working best and how we most effectively could support your sons and daughters. We know it's not perfect at this point. Distance learning is not perfect and not what any of us signed up for. However, where we are right now, we feel like things are going very well, and we will continue to survey, adapt, and improve until we get to where we need to be. Just wanted to talk about one thing as far as what's guiding all of our decisions as far as when we return to school in the fall and how we're making decisions about everything here at Mater Dei. There's really two parts. First is the safety and well-being of every member of our community. During a pandemic, that is the priority. Then, of course, we are committed to providing a quality Catholic dual language education. So we are focused on that. So those are the two guiding premises that our leadership team is focused on and will continue to focus on as we make decisions for the next 6, 12, 18 months.
Great. So next question, Ms. Asaguera. How did you come to the current distance learning schedule, and will this schedule be changing from now until the end of the school year?
So I want to start off also by thanking you again for your flexibility, your patience, and your support during this time. It truly has been overwhelming to know that, to feel that support from afar. I think that we have built a very special community, and we've been able to feel that throughout this journey together. And, like Mr. Ray said, I know there are many challenges associated with distance learning. And in my case, I had to leave my home and come to my office to actually be part of this meeting because I knew that with the kids around, it was going to be a very distracting environment. So we are there with you. We understand what you're going through also from that perspective. And in regard to the schedule, the schedule was based on a lot of research and collaboration with private schools, with dual language schools. We are blessed that we're part of the twin network of schools, and so we can collaborate with Catholic schools across the nation that have dual language programs. And so we wanted to come up with a schedule that would support the needs of our school community, that would work for us. And the plan was to start with asynchronous education, the videos, the newsletters, more independent work, and slowly move towards synchronous education. And so now we have landed in this schedule where we have our academic classes and our enrichment classes. And so what I want to express to you again is that flexibility is the theme of distance learning. And what we want you to take away from this is that this schedule was built for you, but we understand that the needs of your family may be different. We understand that some of you are essential workers in our community. Some of you are working from home. And so the two academic classes for our younger students, our 3 academic classes for 5th and 6th grade, are those essential courses that we want the students to participate. These are the classes that are going to have the most impact, that will help them continue the quality of education. And then the enrichment classes and the small group sessions are optional. As a family, you can decide if you want a shorter day for your students or if you want a longer day for your students. It is our responsibility to offer these to you, and we want to be able to support you to the best of our abilities. And we know that for a lot of you, that means that you value those enrichment classes and that time that your students get to spend with our PE teacher and our dance teacher and our art teacher, and then this new social emotional block that we added for you. But all of those are optional. So know that you have that flexibility, that we are here to support you, that we want to work with you. And again, that yes, we will continue to gather your feedback through surveys and make accommodations, modifications as necessary. But for now, this is our schedule for the rest of this distance learning session.
Great. And how do you intend to grade or assess the students so they are reaching the necessary milestones and be promoted to the next grade?
So we are blessed to have an amazing team of professionals at MDJDA. And I am incredibly proud of the work that each and every one of them has been doing throughout this journey. I couldn't go on without thanking them. The teachers have just gone above and beyond. They have been willing to work extra hard to be able to provide the best quality education that they can. And so I just, want to make sure that I acknowledge them. And another key member of our team is Ms. Torres. And in her role as our vice principal, she meets with the teachers on a weekly basis. to make sure that the grade level content standards are being taught. And so in this transition to distance learning, those weekly meetings became even more important. And so what she does is that she meets with each grade level team. So on Monday, for example, she'll meet with the TK teacher, then on Tuesday she'll meet with the first grade teachers and then the second grade teachers, etc., so that in that team collaboration that is taking place during those meetings, they are looking over the standards, they're identifying the essential standards that we know need to be taught to ensure that the lessons that they are planning integrate these standards. And because we are a standards reference grading school, what that means is that every lesson is associated with a standard. There is no lessons that are just there to exist and give busy work. Each lesson is planned, is thoughtful, and it's connected to those essential standards. In addition to that, our teachers and our instructional aides are conducting individual assessments and will be conducting individual assessments these last few weeks of school so that they can assess the students and know exactly that they are where they are supposed to be and provide that individualized support if necessary. Again, we have an amazing team, and the quality of education has continued, and that has been one of our priorities, to ensure that the grade level content standards per content area are actually being taught and that our students are performing at grade level.
So they will continue to get the same kind of report cards that they have been given in the past?
Yes, so report cards will be mailed out. And so what you received right before we went into this distance learning transition was the quarter report card. And so we were in a way lucky that we got to finish third quarter on campus, and we sent you those progress reports. And so now at the end of the school year, you will be getting a report card. And remember that our report cards show exactly the standards that are being taught and where your student is. And so you'll be able to see that the student has mastered those standards or exactly where they are, in addition to narrative commentary by the teacher, because we know that through this distance learning transition, what's key is also those comments by the teachers so that they can specifically tell you in a narrative form how your students are performing.
Great, thank you. This is another question that came up several times. It says, my student is new to learning Spanish or English or vice versa, and this quarantine has made it even harder to be prepared. How will you address concerns about the ability to move to that next level with a language that's not proficient?
And what I'll say to that is that our commitment to our dual language program continues. This is who we are. This is our identity. We're a Catholic school preparing students to be bilingual, biliterate, bicultural. And so part of that commitment was taken into consideration when developing this schedule. And so all of our students are receiving instruction in both languages on a daily basis. Our commitment to you is that those daily lessons are being delivered by the English teacher and by the Spanish teacher, so that our 50-50 dual language immersion model continues at home. And I know that sometimes, as parents, as adults, it's hard for us to see the learning that is happening inside of the minds of our little students, since this question applies a lot to TK and kinder students. But what second language acquisition research shows us is that there's a lot of input taking place, and that we need to continue that input on a daily basis. And so that is why we decided we have to make sure that both teachers are delivering instruction every day, so that the students can receive that instruction in both languages on a daily basis. And again, this is our commitment to you. This is who we are, and our model continues through our distance learning program. In addition to that, our teachers and our aides are also providing the individual sessions, the one-on-one sessions, which are key specifically to those students that need to spend some more time in their language development. And so the aides are able to provide extra support to all the students who need that extra language support in both English and Spanish.
Great. So the next question is, how will you be addressing students who were supposed to receive First Holy Communion or go through kindergarten graduation? Are there any plans for that?
And so our plan is to definitely celebrate both our kinder students and our third grade students. In regards to the First Communion, the bishop just gave an update this week, and the update was that we still don't know. We don't know when the churches will reopen. We're still waiting on guidance from health officials and government officials. But as soon as the churches open, then we will gather your input in terms of the best dates for our First Communion. We have talked about some summer options. We have talked about some fall options. And so because this applies to the third grade parents, we want to make sure that we're meeting the needs of you. So we want to know what dates would work best once we have that guidance and we have that more specific information. As you know, our First Communion classes have resumed starting today. Mrs. Salter is teaching those classes to ensure that and when June gets here, our students are ready and prepared. And so in terms of the date, we'll just have to wait and see. But of course, we will continue to communicate with you regularly so that you know exactly what's going on, and we will gather your input in terms of the best dates for this celebration. Now, in regards to kinder students, Ms. Salter, Ms. Moncayo, Ms. Torres, and I are finalizing the details of our virtual celebration. The caps and gowns for our little ones have arrived and they are here in our office. So we will be sharing with you information about distribution for those and more details about the virtual celebration. We definitely want to celebrate them. We know that this is important. And so we're coming up with a plan to do this virtually and have the celebration for them. And as you know, my kids are precisely in kinder and in third grade. So as a mom, I understand how these are important milestones and we want to celebrate them. And so we want to make sure that we do that and trust that as a school community, we will be able to celebrate both of our students in kinder and third grade.
That sounds exciting. Are you still planning on summer school? And if so, will it be distance learning?
Yes, so we are still planning a summer school session. We have been planning for both options, an in-person and a distance learning option, because we don't know exactly where we will be in June. We are just preparing for the virtual summer school option, knowing that if we are allowed to come back to campus, we can do that immediately and transition back to campus. So we are preparing for that. We are going to be sending you a survey to gather your interest in summer school and determine what you would like to see if we have to deliver it virtually. We know that you have come to love our summer school program. As you know, Mrs. Salter does an excellent job as our summer school director. And now what we want from you is, if this is a distance learning format, what exactly would you like to see? How do you want us to support you during this time for this summer school session? So we will be sending that in the May newsletter coming out, Monday at the latest, so that we can gather that information and prepare the best summer school program that we can under these circumstances.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Oseguera. Now we're shifting back over to Mr. Ray. What are the plans for fall semester with respect to returning to campus and enforcing a safe environment?
This is a question we're getting quite a bit. First thing I wanted to say is our bishop has communicated to all the principals and presidents in the diocese that he does plan to return to school in the fall. Now, we've been following guidance from a few different organizations. So first, the San Diego County Office of Education has issued some guidance in planning for reentry into school. They've issued a few different scenarios to consider. The first one is if we are only allowed to have 50% of our students on campus. Another scenario that we have to consider is if we're only allowed to have 20% of our entire student body on campus at one time. There's a third scenario would be if for some reason there was another outbreak and we were required to go 100% distance learning. The diocese has asked us to consider another scenario, and that scenario is if campus is open according to public health officials, could we have a distance learning option? For example, if there are certain families that just don't feel comfortable sending their kids to school, we are starting to explore the option of having some sort of virtual streaming of classes. Or if there's people who live with grandparents, or if the border closes. So we're trying to consider as many options as possible. We're also following the developments in Denmark and Australia because their schools are now opening up. So we're monitoring that situation very closely. One of the things we're beginning to focus on now is what are some of the things we're going to have to do regardless if there is a 50% option or a 20% option. And some of those things are ordering infrared thermometers. We've begun that. We're ordering gloves, masks, hand sanitizers, additional Clorox wipes. We're ordering more of the automatic hand sanitizers that we installed in campus back in March. We have 3 more coming. We are looking into commercial sneeze guards, those plexiglass things that you've seen in the store. We're speaking to Aramark, who is our custodial provider, about increasing the frequency of their cleaning schedule. So those are the things that we started working on now. As I mentioned, we're also, it's really important for us to consider everybody in our community with compromised immune systems. That includes faculty and staff. Once again, students and students' families. And that's a real important part of this planning. CDC has put out recommendations for schools that we're following, and part of that is going to be developing a response plan if somebody in our community tests positive for COVID. How will we respond? We're also looking into additional professional development for teachers. We're considering expanding the social emotional programs for our students, because I think we all know that a lot of the younger children here they truly miss their friends. They miss a social interaction that was happening on playgrounds and in their classes. We're also considering things like potentially longer lunch times, because things like that would give our custodial crew more time to clean. So those are all the things we're considering. Next week, our leadership team is coming together to consider all of these options. We want to start planning now so we can be ahead of things when the government and the county public health officials sort of give us more guidance as far as how we have to proceed.
Thank you. So now we end up with this last question, which is probably one of the most pressing questions that have come up in the last several weeks. Will you be reducing tuition and providing tuition deferments given this new climate of learning?
Yeah, this is definitely the question that we received the most. So I'm going to start off by answering that question saying this was a policy at the diocesan level not to offer any tuition discounts at this point. But I want to explain the rationale behind that a little bit further. Our teachers have never worked so hard in their careers. They were basically charged with the order of pivoting everything they've done for years in a matter of just a few days. So our teachers are working more hours than ever worked. They're putting it, and they're just really providing an amazing educational experience. And how it works at Mater Dei is our tuition essentially pays for the salaries of our teachers. And we have a contractual obligation to continue paying our teachers. So with that, I just want to say, we remain committed to providing the best quality dual language education out there, and we'll continue surveying you, modifying and improving our curriculum. That being said, we realize that this pandemic has impacted a lot of our families. Families have lost their jobs. People who have their own businesses have really been hit financially with this crisis. We know how this is impacting the peso and our families across the border. And we are committed to working with those families. So for those families who have experienced either job loss or income loss or something related to this crisis, our finance office is working with them on a case-by-case basis. We are committed to working with our families through this crisis.
Thank you very much, John. At this point, I would like to thank both Mr. Ray and Ms. Asaguera from all of our parents who've been asking these questions. Thank you for gathering all the answers. And Mr. Ray, do you have any concluding comments?
Yes. First of all, I just wanted to thank you for listening to this and express our commitment to continuing to partner with you. We're committed to responding to your questions. We're happy to do this in the future. We will continue to survey you. We will continue to communicate any relevant information as it becomes available. And there's a few other things I wanted to end with. First, today is Principal Appreciation Day. So if you do receive this message, if you can please reach out to our amazing principal and congratulate her. And next week is Teacher Appreciation Week. And as we both mentioned, our teachers are really going above and beyond, and it's really, a miracle what they're doing each and every day. So please reach out to them. Just send them a little note, whatever you can, just to, encourage them and thank them for all the hard work that they're doing day in and day out.
Any final words for you, Ms. Asaguera?
So I just also want to say thank you. Again, thank you for your support, your flexibility, your patience. Thank you for supporting our teachers. And again, we just are blessed to be part of this community. So I know that this is challenging, but we're getting through this together. We will get through this together. And hopefully soon we will be able to, be together in the same space. But again, thank you.
Thank you. And so we're going to end this whole video by just reiterating to you, as you get surveys, we encourage you to take the time to actually give us the feedback. Mater Dei is committed to keeping all of our parents informed and providing updates, especially as it is related to opening our campus. And we continue to pray for every family. It is Mater Dei fashion when we start a meeting that we start with a prayer. We also have Parents in Prayer every single, we have a Parents in Prayer every single Monday that we invite you all to at 8 a.m. And our chaplains are starting once again to celebrate Mass for us every Wednesday at 11:30. It's going to be published on social media. And last but not least, we've been having a faith formation for families for the Mater Dei Juan Diego community every Friday afternoon. And I hope that you continue to join us in prayer. And we look forward to doing another one of these communication outreaches. And just want to say thank you again.
All right.